Hey everybody, I know it's been a while since my last video. I apologize for that. Work's been crazy, life's been kind of crazy. Um, but I wanted to do a quick video on a common thing that I keep hearing, like how do you get your spoons smoother? How do you get a better finish on them? And I've compiled a really short list here of some things that I will do to ensure that the finish of my spoon is good. So we'll just kind of go through those real quick. Number one being your wood selection. This is butternut, this is black walnut. These will both take a pretty good finish by themselves, with no oil necessary, to be quite honest. I still use oil, but this stuff really lends itself to a good finish to begin with. And these are both hardwoods, mind you. Any close-grained hardwood would generally be pretty good. You want to stay away from softer woods for the most part, like pine. Pine's not going to be a great wood for carving spoons to begin with, and you probably wouldn't get that great of a finish off it anyways. Some cedars you might not, depending on your skill level. This is a staghorn sumac. Not sure how well that'll come across. And you can get a really good finish off of this, but you have to really know what you're doing. And this is a very soft wood. I can barely touch this with my thumbnail and put dents in it, and that's one way to check it. And the fact that the growth rings are so far apart will also tell you this it's likely a softwood. But wood selection is definitely one of the beginner things that you can check to make sure that you're off to a good start with this. Another thing is drying your spoons fully before you're finishing cuts. A lot of people hear me talk about a 90% finished spoon, which I have sitting right here. This one I roughed out last night, and it looks quite dull. Might not look dull to some of you, I guess. I'm not sure how this is picking up on camera, but I have, for comparison, one just like it that's all the way finished. And hopefully you can tell the difference in the finish with this. Obviously the color pops a little bit more on the one that's done, the one on the right here, but they're both apple. I've used the same template for both of them, and the only difference is that this one's all the way finished and this one's 90% done and it's still drying. So that's the biggest thing I would say that is the most important, is making sure that before you do your finishing cuts, your spoon is all the way dry, or as close as possible to it anyways. Next on my list, I have the sharpest knife possible. A lot of people will rough out their spoon and then go directly into finishing cuts, and admittedly I used to do that as well, but I find that letting it dry and re-honing your knife before finishing cuts really lends itself to a great finish. So while my spoon's drying, at some point I will take this to the strop and bring that edge back as good as I can. And sometimes it doesn't even take much. Sometimes it's just a few passes and you're good to go, depending on what kind of wood you were using or how aggressive you were with your tools. But yeah, maintaining those blades and having the sharpest knife possible is definitely important. And obviously some of you might remember that I have a video on stropping, keeping your knives maintained, and also keeping your straps maintained. So if you guys want to check those videos out, those are available on my channel as well. Another thing is to pay attention to the grain direction, especially in your transition areas, which is going to be namely right here, where the neck of the bowl, or where the neck of the handle meets the bowl. This is called the keel right here. But at the side of the neck, you'll find some funky areas that are kind of difficult to carve if the wood's still wet. So I don't know how well this will pick up, but I generally don't try to get this super clean before my spoon is drying. I get it just semi-acceptable, and I will clean it up later, which will be much easier to do once it's dry. Also, smaller facets. The facets on the back of your bowl, some people will do chunkier facets and some people will do micro facets. I tend to go somewhere in the middle, I suppose. But the smaller your facets, obviously the shinier your spoon's going to be and the more comfortable in the mouth. The ones on the inside of the bowl here are pretty minimal. And another thing on my list I have here that aids you in a good finish is burnishing, and that's why some of my facets are not quite as pronounced as others, but I just use pieces of antler. I mean, there's other things you can use, I suppose. A harder piece of wood that's really smooth, or I've heard of some people using stones, but I just use a couple different pieces of antler here, and I have them highly polished, and I just rub that into the spoon everywhere except for on the bevels, and that really helps to bring that shine out. And lastly, obviously, pretty much everybody, I can't say everybody, but most people oil their spoons. I use walnut oil. This bottle I just keep refilling with the stuff that I buy, but this is what I use in the beginning. And not only does this protect your spoon a little bit, but it also gives it that nice sheen. It gives it that brand new out of the box look, if there is such a thing with a wooden spoon. And I apply this, I can't say there's like a set schedule to me applying this. I'll just notice that some of my more used spoons are getting a little bit more dull, and I will pull all my spoons off the wall or out of the drawer, and I will oil them all in one go. And then I'll leave them alone for a day or two, and then they're good to go. So that's pretty much all I have, really. I mean, there's other things you can do, I'm sure, but these are the most common things that I do to ensure that my spoon is as smooth as it can be. Getting crisp cuts, your wood selection, grain direction, smaller facets if that's what you're into, if you want to spend a little more time, burnishing, oiling, and drying before finishing cuts. Those are my top things that I do. Feel free to comment on this if you've got suggestions that can help somebody. That's the whole idea of these videos, is to help somebody that might be getting into green woodworking, primarily spoon carving or something similar. But comment down below if you've got some suggestions too. I will put this on my Instagram, srhearn0908, and I'll put this on my Facebook as well, or at least a link to it. And let me know what you think. Shoot me a like, subscribe if you're not already subbed, and feel free to share this, because the whole idea, like I said, is to get people into it, to get people asking questions and learning. So appreciate your guys' time. Hopefully you got to learn something today, and I'll see you in the next one.